You are listening to Ordinary Eccentrics. I'm Courtney Lofton, and together we'll uncover the extraordinary lives of ordinary people. Let's hop into it. So, could you introduce yourself, starting with your first and last name?
Lois Pozzobon.
And Lois, where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised I'm from Canada. So I was born in a small town that with about 1,500 people, small town Manitoba. I was there until I was 18 years old. And then I moved out to Calgary, Alberta.
Wow, what was it like growing up in a small town of 1,500?
Yeah.
That is like I say I'm from a small town and it's 40,000, but that is actually a small town.
It is. To be honest, I didn't know any different because, at the time it was just my home compared to Calgary, which has got, I don't know, over 1 million people now.
Yeah.
It was very intimate, I guess, if you want to call it that. It was a very small town that everybody knew their business, each other's business. Yeah. So
I imagine, yeah.
I was kind of, by the time when I was 18, it's like, okay, I'm done. I've got to move. I have to move west. So that's what I did. Yeah.
And growing up and like being in school, was it all the same kids, mostly from kindergarten through high school?
Pretty well. Yeah. I have probably, well, I have a best friend still from those times. And then I'm still in touch with, oh boy, probably a dozen people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, just on Facebook, we're friends, still friends and that sort of thing. So, I mean, and they're all, as you grow older, right, you get to see everybody's lives and kind of in front of you and see where they've ended up. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's cool.
If you were to describe yourself in high school or like give yourself like a superlative most likely to, how would you describe yourself?
Oh boy, I was a rebel, actually.
Oh, tell me more.
I was the person that went against the grain. I was the one that didn't really follow the rules. I had fun. Not gonna lie, had fun. But I did not like school. I was not a real academic kind of person. I played sports, volleyball, basketball, that sort of thing.
Cool.
And growing up, I mean, I had a loving family, everything else, but I just needed more. I strived for more diversity. I strived for more opportunities, I guess, at the time. Yeah, but it was compared to now, what I was then. Over the years, I've built myself a story that I could probably write a book. So, yeah.
Okay, let's get into it. So, when you left and went west, what did you do?
Well, funny thing, I was dating a fellow back home. And him and I came out to Calgary, lived out here. Then I worked, what did I do? I had a full-time job ever since I've been out here, actually. Worked in a real estate office, worked in a chiropractic's office. I did more administration, that kind of thing. So, but I did work full-time, and then eventually him and I split. We weren't married, but we lived together for, oh gosh, probably about 4 or 5 years. So he went his way, I went mine, which was kind of tough at the time. Obviously, it's always kind of one of those things. And then, yeah, I've worked pretty well ever since. And then I happened to work in oil and gas. I got lucky, worked in oil and gas, doing administration, and since 1985, I've been doing oil and gas ever since. So very
Cool.
fortunate. I'm very grateful for that.
Nice. And so I guess you've stayed in the same role for, or the same place or industry for a long time. What have you learned about, I guess, the commitment compared to like today? I've like, even for me, example, I've probably switched jobs and careers 3 or 4 or 5, 6 times. And I
Yeah,
think that's a trend for a lot of people who are coming out of college and figuring, or just at that age and figuring things out. What kept you motivated to stick with that industry?
money.
Yeah.
Um, I worked at, I don't know how many companies, well, about maybe half a dozen different companies,
Mhm.
but still doing oil and gas in different jobs, I guess.
Mhm.
Uh, I went to school and went to a community college and got um certified for it's called surface land
Mhm.
specialist, and I've been doing that for quite a while. And then they retired me out of one company. They didn't lay me off, which was
Mhm.
nice. They gave me a package. And then I was just very fortunate to get another job where I'm doing sort of the same thing, but only working on divesting and acquiring different companies or assets and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So it's kind of nice that I've had that opportunity, but is it my passion? No, never was. Never really
Mm.
was. But oil and gas has certainly paid my bills,
Yeah.
and it's a very lucrative business. So that's what we're known for in Alberta.
Yeah. Okay. And
Yeah,
so if that wasn't your passion, do you know what is, or is it a process of uncovering?
it's a process, you know.
Mhm.
I tried travel agents, like online travel agent, took a course there. I do really want to write a book. I'm kind of put that on hold because of now my passion being life coach and helping others and
Mhm.
serving others. Decided that that is a passion of mine, that it won't feel like I'm going to work all the
Mhm.
time. So it's that did pay my bills. I'm looking at something here for retiring when I retire, that I can do life coaching from anywhere.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
is one
that's a
thing
power.
I'm very grateful for, is having those years, doing a few different things throughout my life and finding out what my passion is.
Yeah. And is your book a memoir?
It is. Yeah, it
Could you
will
share
be.
more? Yeah, what more of your ideas or what you want to share in that?
uh, Many times, there's a story that, I'll tell somebody and about uh, growing up or the health things that I've gone through,
Mhm.
just the different things I've done, like sky jumping, um, different events throughout my life. I had a preemie baby,
Mhm.
uh, just, various different things. Ended up, you know, back in my rebel days of, I was into not really doing drugs, but I was helping selling drugs. So,
Interesting.
which ended up me being incarcerated for about 2 months. And while I was in there, my dad died. So
Wow.
there's all sorts of things that. with my life. I've almost died from flesh eating disease. Um, I've had oral cancer that I'm still kind of getting through, but
Mm,
it seems to be looking good.
nice.
Uh, yeah, it's just, I sit down to jot down a few things and then I think, oh, yeah, that happened. So, you know, boy,
Yeah,
there's a lot that's happened in my life. I didn't really think about it, but yeah,
that's
it's
interesting.
yeah, like
So,
there's so many different facets of my life, that the good, the highs, the lows, the whatever.
yeah. So when you think about the hard things, like your dad passing while you're incarcerated, and I'm sorry for your loss, but things like that that happen that are totally out of your control, how
Mhm.
did you cope with that?
Well, thank goodness when I was in there, they did let me out
Uh-huh.
because I'd
That's
never
good.
been there before. I've never had issues. Like it was just the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Um, so then when he passed, my oldest sister and her husband came and got me. We went back to Manitoba, and I was in their care.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to Manitoba for the service and everything else. So as it worked turned out, I got to go, but it didn't hit me for quite a few years of that whole scenario, you know,
Mm-hmm.
me being in there, him passing away. I did get to see him at Christmas before that. He passed in February. So
Mm-hmm.
I am very fortunate that I was able to do that.
Yeah. And
And,
did it change your decision making or like your association with the people and like things that you were doing before?
uh, not really. I mean, I guess it's just a matter of growing up, just
Yeah.
learning things. Like there's so many learned lessons I've had over the years of just whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I guess the latest is coming to terms with myself
Mm-hmm.
almost past. Like I was really seriously ill when I had that flesh eating, and luckily I didn't lose anything. But after it was all over, that's when it sort of changed me, because they gave me 25 IV bags of
Mm-hmm.
antibiotics and none were working. So, and I didn't know that. And
Oh, wow.
I was in ICU for a good week and then in the hospital for 3. Now, having said that, losing a parent was devastating. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I was just numb at the time. I was just, I went through my own crap, and I don't know if I think that's partly why I felt numb.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure, but my regret is that I didn't get to spend time with him. Like I was 22 when he passed away,
Mm.
and I didn't get to spend my adult life with him. So
Yeah.
that's the only, which is too bad, but shit happens.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just the way life goes. So
When
yeah.
you're in that kind of state of numbness, do you remember what like how you spent your days, how you got through it?
Well, all part of the numbness was, I'm not sure. Are you from the States?
Yeah, I'm from Illinois actually, so not
Illinois? Okay.
Illinois, yeah. Not too far from Canada.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so after dad passed, I had to come back to Calgary. And then I spent a month in a halfway house. Do you guys
Hmm.
have
Yes,
halfway
yeah, we
houses
have
there?
those.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I had to do that for a good month. So I was really focusing on my life at the time. Like I may sound egotistical or might sound selfish, but I was not at that point in my life, I guess maybe where I took it serious enough when he passed. I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, but living in a halfway house, you're just, you're surviving basically.
Hmm.
And you're doing whatever you can to abide by the rules and this and that. I found a job when I was in there because that's what they want you to do.
Right.
And I think it was just part of that. And then afterwards, it took me a good year to really deal with his loss, which I did eventually. I really did. And then, things move on, and then mom was there on her own, and I had a sister back with her, so that was nice, that she had somebody. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was a come to terms with loss, I guess.
Yeah.
But
When
it
you're
it
living in the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. No.
I was just going to ask, when you were living in the halfway house, what was that like? And did you develop friendships, relationships? Was it hard to be around so many different energies that are kind of going through their own things? Like, how did you keep yourself sane?
Yeah. It's funny because I keep saying, I said to my son, I said, you know, being incarcerated, good Lord, there was no metal toilets. There was nothing like that. It was cushy. We
Hmm.
were fed wonderful meals, blah, blah, blah. And then in the halfway house, it was like, gosh, I didn't really even associate with others. Like I was
Mm.
more, I'm introverted. So I would leave in the morning as long as I was back at night for bed.
Hmm.
Uh, at between certain hours, I don't remember what they were, but I could go in the morning and then come back later. So while all that was happening, I was looking for work. They bought me a new wardrobe. Um, and then I did live with a boyfriend at that time. Uh, and I would just go spend the time with him. So really, I mean, to me, it was just another day in my life, basically.
Yeah.
Didn't make friends. Like I wasn't one to, oh, let's hang out. Like, no,
Yeah.
I didn't do that. God only knows what they did. I don't know what they did, but
Yeah.
um,
You kind of kept yourself separated and just kind of focused on your own journey.
yeah, yeah,
That's good.
exactly.
So when did you feel like you got the chance to do the self-reflection and kind of detangling some of the things of your past?
Well, again, it's one of those things over the years of learning. Pardon me, my voice just goes crazy here.
Okay.
Um, of learning different things as you get older. Like I've had so many life lessons. And then over the years, I kept thinking, well, is it everybody else or is it just me that thinks like this? Is it everybody else that does this and I don't? Like, why are others so kind and I feel like I'm so angry all the time? So
Mm.
it's like, okay, I got to do some self reflection. And I worked with a girl that was more like that kind of thing, into that sort of thing, like meditation and all that sort of stuff. And
Hmm.
so it's only been we've been within the last, I'd say, 7 years maybe that I
Hmm.
have decided to go that route. Um, I'm more of the natural healing as opposed to the medical field, like the old medicine,
Hmm.
or the new medicine, I should say. So and plus having different issues with health, I think has really opened up my eyes. So it's not, yeah, it's been within the last 7 years or so that I finally decided I had to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those
Took,
emotions like anger can really, they can. eat you up from the inside out if you don't learn how to release it or process it. So I feel 7 years is a long time. That's like a great amount of work to do.
Hmm.
What advice would you give to someone who may just be starting that journey and just realizing that, hey, like maybe how I'm feeling could be different and could reflect different things in my life?
Well, if you had have asked me 10 years ago, even,
Mhm.
um, if I would do that in the future, I probably would have said, "Are you kidding? Like, no, like, why?
Mm.
I don't need help," that sort of thing. So I think awareness of who you are, what you are compared to other, not, this is one way that I think I don't like to compare myself to others, but
Mhm.
what you may feel that they think of you and what you think of them may be an indicator that you need to take a look at yourself inside.
Mhm.
Um, it may not, I mean, it came to me at a late age. Like it's, some people, maybe it'll never happen. Maybe, who knows? And some people, 30s, 40s, they might realize that. Um, maybe they need a little bit of help with their awareness and that sort of
Mhm.
thing. And that's kind of partly the reason why I took life coaching too, um, was to help others identify. Like, I had no idea why I was angry. And then when I got self help and self
Mhm.
development, I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot of nice people out there. Like,
Mhm.
I felt like such a bully, not a bully, but just mean, and I don't know where that
Mhm.
came from. I still do to this day don't know where it came from, but it's just
Do you,
something to be aware of.
yeah. Do you think it has like anything to do with the rebellious age when you're younger? Like, do you know why you wanted to rebel?
Good question. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm
Oh, there
here.
you go. Okay. Sorry. My computer just went black. It might have been. It might have been just the way I felt about myself, very insecure, very not a lot of confidence. I felt like I was being judged or laughed at, and I don't know why, because I really had no idea. I was assuming that's the way it
Mhm.
was. So I just thought, to heck with it. Like, obviously, I am thinking about me. It's all me, it's just got to be me because
Mhm.
people are, that's why I feel that way, because I'm angry, that I was feeling judged and that sort of thing. So my sisters, I have four older sisters that I never felt heard or acknowledged from, which I'm
Mm.
getting life coach from that. But uh, so I never really felt that in my own family. So I think that's why. And I've posed the question to them and that sort of thing. But yeah, over the years, I just
Mm.
thought, gosh, what a biatch I am, because I was just not a real happy person for some reason. I don't, you know, I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Mm.
But just
Did you
identify.
feel? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, just to identify yourself to yourself.
Yes.
Um, take a look inside, and then it took me a long time.
Yeah. And it definitely starts with recognizing the emotions that are already there. And
Correct.
that's not always easy either.
Not at all. And not, and I've had therapy over the years and that sort of thing. Um, I just don't think with the therapist that it's really dug deep enough with
Mhm.
them. But I do find that attending Jay Shetty's school is really something that's brought out a lot
Mhm.
of inner feelings with me. So, and the tools to use to be able to identify that. So it's really, I'm very grateful for the whole community because um, gaining confidence is one good thing. Being
Yes.
happy, not being judged, and that sort of thing has really been helpful.
Yes. But the importance of a
Hmm.
safe space, right? With for authentic self-expression. And then we can go from there to heal the childhood wounds, the inner shadow work, but
Hmm.
it does require a safe place to be vulnerable.
Correct.
I
Yeah,
was
it's
going
folks
to
like
ask,
you
yeah,
that helps with that too. Um, and
yeah,
asking the right questions is amazing. So yeah.
yeah. I'm still curious about um, your childhood. And you mentioned you're the youngest of four girls, which can be so much fun or it can be hell and high water. I'm the youngest of three girls. So, and the youngest always gets a lot of attention. That's like the
Hmm.
stereotypically. But I'm curious if you felt like you were different from your older sisters and like how, if looking back on yourself now from the point of view of an adult, how would you paint that picture of Lois?
Well, my sisters are all like the oldest one is 14 years older than me.
Hmm.
Then there's two more around her age. And then there's another one that is 8 years older than me. So I'm the baby by 8 years. I
Mm.
got spoiled. It didn't, I keep saying to them, it wasn't me that spoiled me. So if you want to call me spoiled, then just blame it on yourselves. It's not my problem.
Yeah.
But I think it was somewhat of a different, not a generation, but almost like a different generation
Hmm.
of how I was raised compared to them. Um, my mom and I got along just great. She she was an enabler. My dad was an alcoholic, so she lived with that for many many years.
Hmm.
So if there was ever anything I wanted or felt I needed, I'd just say, I'd use my little puppy dog eyes and say,
Hmm.
Mom,
Hmm.
can I get this type thing? And my older sisters wouldn't have had that because
Hmm.
there was four of them kind of around the same age. And my parents probably couldn't afford much when they were younger because they were all
Mm.
young at the same time.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky there. So we didn't really have a lot in common. Um, my next sister to me, that's 8 years older, her and I guess, have the most in common, but still, um, there's not much as far as commonalities at all,
Hmm.
really, from music to whatever. Like, we were never that family where, we'd sit up at night and have our pajamas on and have a sister watching movie kind of night.
Uh-huh.
That never happened. Like, I think that's just in the movies. I don't know. But yeah, it was easy for me, but still, again, it was kind of tough.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
because you're spoiled, your words, at home, and
Yeah,
then did you want to seek independence outside of home?
yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. When I wanted to move out, it really didn't have anything to do with mom and dad as far as rules or nothing like that. It was
Yeah.
just something I needed to do. As
Yeah.
a young person, you want to have a life.
Yeah. Spread your wings.
Do what you want without people looking at you and wondering where you are. Because as a parent, I don't know if you are, but as a parent, you don't
No.
stop worrying about your kids. It's like, it's
Hmm.
just one of those things. I have a son who's 36, and it's like, I'm always going to be your mother. So, you know, and him and I have an awesome relationship. So I'm very lucky there too.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I'm 34 and my parents still worry about me and like and sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like I'm not a little kid and it's just like I don't have kids, so I don't get like like once a parent always a parent. I'm just like be my friend, leave me alone. I'll call you when I feel like it.
Yeah, right. It depends on the situation for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
when you're a parent, you just, yeah, you always a parent for sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the 7 years where you started the process of
Mhm.
self-discovery and kind of going through doing that work, what have you seen change along the course of those years?
Oh, wow. A much calmer, nicer, caring person, um, that I didn't think I had it in me, really, at the time. I've recently found out that I'm ADHD.
Hmm.
So going through that process, it's like, okay, now I kind of get it. Some of the things I went through.
Yeah.
Back then, it was never identified as that, of course, and it's just, it wasn't like your whatever the case label they put on
Hmm.
kids like that. It was just they didn't have a label. They're just
Yeah.
disruptive or whatever the case may be. But I've learned a lot about myself about having empathy. I had it, but not to this extent. I'm a very uh, I with children and animals. Because they don't have a voice.
Hmm.
I'm very caring and loving towards animals and children. Adults, yes, they're old enough to whatever, but somebody that doesn't have a voice or
Hmm.
an animal that doesn't have a voice,
Hmm.
um, they don't deserve the stuff that they go through. Like, there's so much happening now in this world with children and animals. It's very disturbing. And I've basically come to terms with that is one of my not niches, but that's kind of what turned me into an empathetic kind of person as
Hmm.
well, just seeing what's happening in the world. So over the course of 7 years, like it's taken me a while. I've read a lot of self-help books. I've watched, oh my goodness, a lot of podcasts of various people. Jay being one of them, and that's why I joined this school. And books and podcasts, basically, and
Yeah.
just did research on myself and a lot of self help. So it did take a while, for sure. And I know I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. When have you seen your relationships change from starting your self-help journey?
Oh, yeah, especially with my family. I have learned to not share a lot of my personal, what's the word I'm looking for? Enlightenment, I guess,
Hmm.
with my sisters. I they're not there. They're not, they're older. Whether they believe in it or not, I don't know.
Hmm.
But I don't share a lot with them about that kind of thing.
Hmm.
I have isolated myself from them when I was going through all this self discovery. I was isolating Facebook friends.
Yeah.
So I was very much working on me. If my house was a retreat, without three dogs, I would have said it was my retreat. That's my space. And so it's changed with them. My friends are fine, you know. My solid friends are very understanding. Um, and I think COVID really did a number too, because I was at home. At that particular year, I wasn't working, but it gave me time. It gave me time to
Yes.
really look at what was happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people that COVID was a blessing of time and space for being with just yourself.
Right. Yeah. I think so. I've heard that too. Like others have felt that way too. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, you have work, you have, well, obviously, family's family, but there's the outside world that you deal with too all the time.
Yep.
In that way, it was like, okay, God, I just got to get out of the house. But, even just going for a drive or something was a blessing, you know.
Yeah.
But, uh, but it sure made you think about things. And, hearing what was going on in the world about dying of COVID and the
Hmm.
opioid crisis, and I'm like, come on, people. Like, these people that have been dying of suicide or
Hmm.
um, overdoses and stuff like that, pay attention, because it's mental health. A lot of people can't
Yes.
handle the COVID era. They
Yeah.
can't. They just can't. And so it was really something to see, not in a good way, of what was happening in the rest of the world. It's everywhere.
Yes. It
So,
affected people in so many different ways.
yeah, for sure.
I think
Yeah.
it was really important what you said about at the beginning of your journey, you had to kind of protect yourself, your energy. You didn't share everything that you're going through.
Hmm.
Um, I've read that there are steps in the journey, and I think this happens with everyone when you're beginning to feel enlightened, whether it's spiritual, mental, like you have this inkling to want to share it with everyone because you're so excited about what you're learning and the changes that are happening. And but a lot of times people aren't where you are and they're not able to relate, and that could dampen the experience for yourself, and it kind of and it there so there we get to this point of, oh, I'm really excited, I want to share. Okay, I'm realizing that actually this is so personal and I can't share, and it's almost a very delicate thing that I have to protect because I'm actually just getting started. And then we go into this isolation mode or retreat mode where we're purging all of the like toxic aspects of our lives or the things that aren't feeding this positive energy back to us so we can continue to work on ourselves. I've experienced that. A lot of people that I've talked to have experienced that.
Yeah.
Um, so I just think I just wanted to highlight that because I think that's an important lesson in the
Yeah.
self journey.
Yeah. No, I do too. It's something that I value in myself, to be able to take that time and to be able to work on myself.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I don't know if I would have, having working a full time. I don't even have young children, like some parents. They have two or three kids, they work a full time job, uh, they're going to school, J
Hmm.
Shetties, or whatever they may be doing. They may
Yeah.
be going in for a PhD. I don't know. But how in the world do they do it? Like, I just think and this was too much for me because of my ADD. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I feel so overwhelmed. But yeah, I don't know how people do it, but kudos to them, because uh, and trying to discover who they are, they probably have not had time to do that.
Hmm.
Maybe they already know. I don't know, but I think it just takes time and something to identify with. That's all.
Yeah. Tell me more about your decision to become a life coach.
When that friend of mine that I worked with, uh, and we were meditating and doing stuff and law of
Mhm.
attraction and um, all that kind of spirituality kind of thing, she was taking courses for, I think she's doing life coaches too. She's a woman of color, so
Mhm.
living in the city, um, there's things that they've had to deal with. Her
Mhm.
sons have had to deal with, the racism and all that
Mhm.
brutal stuff that happens. And her and I, we talked about it. We were close enough to talk about stuff like that. So I got to know a little bit more about her and how she's got to where she is. So then I thought, wow, I'd love to do something like that, but I don't know. I don't have resources like I don't, at that time. So as time went on, like I had time to do my self development and my podcasts and my books and such, but and we'd go to different workshops and that sort of thing. Now she's working strictly with women of color. She's getting, empowering them to make a life for themselves, which is
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something like that, just like do life coaching, basically, is what I wanted to do. So it took me a bit, like I said. And then after I started listening to Jay, and then I think there was a couple of other podcasts I'd listened to. I'm like, okay, this sounds like it's for me. Now I joined here in March, which is, it took me that long. It takes me a while to decide if I want to or not. But
Mhm.
that empathy and that caring and that helping others basically wanted me like to learn more.
Mhm.
And one of these days I will retire. So it's like I can't just sit back and do nothing, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not that type of person. So she has definitely been one of my mentors to
Mhm.
get going on that sort of stuff, which is amazing. So, and we're still friends and we still talk about things. And yeah, it's been very, very, very cool.
Yeah. That's it's nice to be influenced and to have a mentor that's already doing it so you can get an idea.
Hmm.
And how did you, well, I guess I'll share, like when I was first thinking about being a life coach, I was like, I can't do that. Like people who are life coaches are like Oprah and Tony Robbins, you have to be really in this huge place of success to be able to give people life advice. And then I realized it's not about giving advice, it's about coaching and asking the right questions. How
Yeah.
did you find how did you envision yourself as a life coach and uh, kind of get over any imposter syndrome or doubts that you could do it?
Well, I don't know if I'm over it yet. So I have issues with confidence. I wanted to do this to be able to help others. I knew it was going to be a long road.
Mhm.
I needed to get out of my comfort zone and help other people. And Jay certainly helped me, uh, just listening to him. I have a
Mhm.
personal trainer that is an amazing coach, a workout coach.
Yeah, physical trainer.
Yeah. And so then he's been amazing. Like he's had a lot of faith and he's so excited for me to try this and that. He says, you can do it. You can do this. It's just a matter of time and just practicing, and I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. So, and my son, again, he's been supporting me very much, and I'm sort of held accountable to him, and vice versa. So the coaching thing to me right now even is the actual unsupervised coaching. Um, I have an issue with retention, um, and also the focus. Like I've got to really focus. However, I've
Mm.
had a few, good talks with a few coachees that, like, I am a good listener, so which is a bonus. And I've always been a good listener. I was always felt like the bartender, in school and in
Yeah.
my younger ages. So like, oh, so tell me their life story. I'm like, okay, cool. It was just one of those things, right? Because I'm that confidential person that it doesn't go anywhere with me.
Right.
I don't just say, oh, guess what, but whatever. It stays within it stays within me. So a lot of people knew that, and they would confide in me. So I knew that was a good attribute, listening. So yeah, life coaching was just something that really appealed to me within the last few years.
Yeah.
And I told my friend, I said, I would love to be a humanitarian. She says, well, just do it. Just, what's stopping you? Well, money for one thing, sometimes can stop you. But yeah, just do it. If you want to gain the confidence, do it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when do you feel the most confident and most like yourself?
Let's see. When I know, when I feel comfortable enough to know the content, I won't speak up if I don't have that knowledge because it makes me look like a fool. I need to know what I'm talking about to back up my whatever I'm talking about. I need to have that
Hmm.
experience that I can go by. So typically, like I'm fairly confident most of the time. If it's stuff that I don't feel confident in, I won't say anything
Hmm.
because then I'll be asked the question. I'm like, frick, I don't know. I don't know
Hmm.
what's, you know, oh, my bad. I didn't even get away with that one. But with Jay Shetty's, and you learn by practicing, and you learn by education. Um, I'm gaining that confidence. I think it's the more you practice, the more you get to know people, the
Hmm.
more that you attend meetings, etc., then the more you gain confidence. It's just do it.
Yeah. And what
Yeah.
about just in the outside world? I know you mentioned like there are times where you felt judged. Do
Mhm.
you feel that anymore? Do you feel more confident just being in the world and being around other people, regardless of what they think?
All depends. All depends again
Yeah.
on my comfort level. Or sometimes I just don't speak up because other people have spoken up before me.
Hmm.
So really, what do I have to add to that? To be honest, like a lot of times, I just won't say anything
Mm.
really. So I've kind of learned to deal with it that way. Um, I can joke around with my son, and he knows I'm an idiot in a good way, fun way,
Yeah.
because I do it just to bug him. But out in the real world, I just like I'm not a confrontational person. If I don't know what I'm talking about, I won't say anything unless I'm 100% sure. So again, it depends.
Mm.
Yeah.
What would you say is something unique about you that most people wouldn't guess just by first meeting you, or what just wouldn't know even who know you, who have known you for a while?
It's funny you ask because back if quite a few years ago, I had two bosses and they offered me a supervisor's job. And I'm like, wow, really? I said, I don't want to do that. Well, why not? I says, because I don't feel confident enough in that. And they both said, well, you look confident, like you come across confident. And I'm like, really? Like, I had no idea. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's the weirdest thing because other people have seen it,
Hmm.
but I don't feel it. Maybe my definition of confidence is different than theirs. I don't know.
Right.
But, um, or some of the things I've gone through in my life, they would never expect me. Like I tell people about my past sometimes, and
Hmm.
they'll say, "What? Really? Um, you?" I mean, yep, me. But
Yeah.
they they don't say too much, that I'm a caring, giving person and such. But I'm not a person to go out there and flaunt, or I'm not a person to go out there and say, "Hey, look at me." I'm just kind of that person that sits in the back and doesn't say much. So the people I get along with are the people that are my true friends.
Hmm.
And the other ones are basically, uh, what do you call them in my life? People I've just run into in my life that I
Acquaintances,
get
sort
along
of.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so my next question is twofold.
Okay.
One, if you were to give your younger self advice from where you are now, what would it be?
Okay.
And the second one is if you were to come from the perspective of yourself 30, 40 years from now, your older self,
Hmm.
what advice do you think she would give to you now?
Ooh, boy, that's a hard one because there's nothing I really regret at my with my younger self. I lived a life of fun, like I had fun. I'm not
Hmm.
gonna, uh, I didn't know any different, and I think a lot of that was life lessons. So just kind of, keep up with what you're doing. Like you're just having a great time. I wasn't ready to settle down. I wasn't that type of person. I didn't want to be growing up. Gosh, I probably
Hmm.
didn't mature till I was 40, you know, or seem mature because I could have been like I probably could have done improv even though I'm introverted.
Yeah.
Like my ex-husband and I, we used to just have fun at parties and stuff like that, and just whatever, just the life of the party. But as a younger self, I don't know if I'd have to give myself advice. Really, just live your life, be safe. You know, um, maybe the other thing would be just to be in touch with your parents, just to let them know you're okay.
Hmm.
It was different then because there were no cell phones, there was no nothing like that. So, um, yeah, I don't have much about my younger self, really.
No, that's good. I
Yeah,
think the improv note's really powerful because most comedians, I think, are introverts, or most
yep,
entertainers are, and they kind of show up with the comedian personality as like the way to interact.
yeah, yeah,
Would
you're
you
right.
ever see yourself doing something like that now?
No, oh gosh, no. I would no, I don't think I would. Um, and back then, of course, we were drinking and partying, and who cares? I'll just say whatever, and yeah, no, it was fun. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, now as when I'm older, what would I give advice I'd give myself now? And just keep on your journey. Learning is an amazing thing throughout life.
Hmm.
Don't ever stop learning. Um, do what you love to do. Life happens. If you have to take a break, you got to take a break. Just carry on. Yeah, just carry on the way you are. I really haven't any regrets to be honest, it's just I boil it down to life lessons.
Yeah.
So,
There's
yeah,
always something to learn.
always, always, every day. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, it's just, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's like all you get all of these different puzzle pieces, and then at some time or another, they start to fit together.
Right, right. They do eventually.
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
For me, it was eventually. For others, it could be different. You know, we're
Yeah.
all different. So some people may never get it, you know, the puzzle pieces. And then there's
Hmm.
others that'll have that in their 20s and 30s. Like, kudos to them because
Yeah.
I was not at that spot at that time.
And now that you are endeavoring into life coaching, and one of our big things is that we set goals.
Mm-hmm.
What's a big goal that you have for yourself for life coaching?
Uh, it's funny because my goals change all the time. I talked
Hmm.
to a coachee last night, and he was saying that, you know, he wants to set up his own business. He wants to be a motivational speaker, which he is, and just different things that he's learned over life. His goal is to be able to empower people and do what they love to do, basically. And
Hmm.
he's on that journey right now. And so I got from him, like, God, that's a good idea. I should, you know, go with Toastmasters and test that out. You've heard of Toastmasters?
Yeah. Yeah. Public
I'm
speaking.
assuming, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Because I never know. But uh so it's just different goals like that. Like, I want to have this done by the end of December, or sorry, end of January, getting the launch pad and everything else.
Hmm.
And then having this coaching business going within 6 months. And that's, you know, I'm just doing the short, smart goals right now, not many of them. Like I said, because it's hard to focus on many different things. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's just one of those things that I've got a few things that I'd like to do before I venture out on my own and be an entrepreneur about it with my
Hmm.
business.
I
Yeah.
definitely hear you having an interest in public speaking.
Hmm.
Is that something
Yeah.
you've done before, or you just something on
No,
the bucket list?
no. It's on my bucket list. It's like,
Cool.
gosh, I don't know if I could get up there. The funny thing is, we got
Yeah.
to go here shortly, but
Mhm.
uh, I ended up on the stage at Cirque du Soleil once, and if it like it's a circus, human circus thing.
Mhm.
Have you seen those?
Yeah. I haven't
Yeah,
seen it, but I'm familiar.
you know what they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my ex-husband was pulled up on the stage and he failed miserably, and so they fired him, walked him back down to his seat, and grabbed me. It's like, holy cow! I don't even have time to. I have no time to think about it. Like, I just was pulled up on stage. You whispered what I do when I'm on my way up, and it's like that was the best experience of my life.
Mm.
I'm like, huh? Who would have thought? You know.
Yeah.
So that was very improv. So, but it sure meant a lot. And I thought, you know, and ever since then, it's been something that I've really thought about.
Yeah. When you find that feeling again, it'll be really reassuring.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah. Affirming.
for
Yeah,
sure.
totally.
Yep.
Okay, Lois, thank you so much for a great conversation. It was really cool getting to know you and hearing your story. And I'm just
Cool.
grateful for you taking the time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for giving me that. That's,
Yeah.
I like this sort of way of going with a podcast type thing.
Yeah, it's just a great way to get to know people and share their stories at the same time, because there's so much more that we have in common than we have not in common, and I feel like a lot of people will be able to relate.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing.
No, I
So,
appreciate it. Thanks so much,
yeah.
Courtney.
Thank you for joining us today. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and join us in our next conversation where we'll be exploring the extraordinary lives of ordinary people. I'm Courtney Lofton, and this is Ordinary Eccentrics.